ILE, which is also the Intended Learning Experience, and the Genocide Holocaust Experience. So he has a lot of really interesting talks about a lot of very different topics. He's been chosen as an SSU Outstanding Faculty Member because students like him so much, and faculty like him so much, and they say he promotes academic excellence, supports students outside the class, and encourages student achievement. He loves teaching at SSU, and like many faculty, can't believe he gets paid to do what he loves best. And this is the third year that he's presented a lecture of this type on Oscar Wilde. So let's give him a warm welcome.
Thank you. I'm really excited to talk about Oscar Wilde again. It's one of my favorite novels. And my goal today is to try to make this novel come even more alive for you. And I know a lot of you love it already. Thinking back, Danielle Malpica and I were speaking yesterday about 4 years ago as I just finished my first year in this program, and Danielle was just coming into the program, and we crossed out there by the library. And Danielle, somehow we started talking. Danielle said, "Have you read this book, Oscar Wilde?" And I had just read it. And so we both got excited about it. We suggested that FYE use this book. And it's been quite a ride. And I'm really thankful for Danielle for making this happen. And it's been really exciting to see so many students get turned on to a book that's been voted the best book of the 21st century. So my thesis today is that Oscar is on his own hero's journey. And just as each one of us in this room is on our own journey, and this is in the Joseph Campbell sense of the word. Joseph Campbell wrote Hero with a Thousand Faces. And George Lucas said he could not have written Star Wars without Joseph Campbell's ideas. So part of it is Oscar's hero's journey, and part of it is that Naban not only loves him, but she also opens up Oscar to Paulo Coelho's wisdom. And she has Paulo Coelho's books, and she says that she told Oscar that Paulo Coelho saved my life. How many of you have read The Alchemist, just out of curiosity? Oh, pretty good smattering. Okay. And so Oscar, my thesis is that Oscar follows his bliss, and he also realizes the wisdom of the alchemist, which is when you desire something with all your heart and soul, the universe conspires with you to make it happen, to make it come true. But underlying all of this in this great novel is the power of prayer, and especially La Inca, and the power of prayer to help Oscar and everyone in her circle to achieve the goals and to achieve the impossible. And the prayers, La Inca's prayers, my thesis asserts, translate into magic realism. And the magic realism, which I'll explain more of the golden mongoose, of angels singing and smelling like burnt cinnamon. And the combination of all of this makes Oscar a hero in the fantasy, science fiction, and spiritual journey sense of the novel. And so finally, Oscar has the courage to find love, even though it means certain death. And in this sense, I believe that Oscar's life is wondrous. So that's where I'm going with this. And as I said, part of what I really want to do today is to make this novel come alive. And 2 years ago when I talked about this, I invited a former student of mine, Gabe Francisco, who's he's now an international hip-hop artist, to dance a scene. So how many of you guys have your books? If you have your books, if you'd get them out, this is on page 167, the beginning of chapter 4. And this is the beatdown scene where a junior thinks he's really tough, and he's going to walk into this crowd and in the middle of the night in a tough part of the city. And if any of you have done that, if any of you have been in a city in the night with some threatening people, you'll know. So here's Gabe Francisco dancing the beatdown scene, and hopefully this will begin to make it come alive a little bit. We are going to be watching Gabe Francisco dance the beatdown scene. Can we turn off the lights? Go ahead.
Sentimental Education, 1988, 1992. The year before Oscar fell, I suffered some nightmares of my own. I got jumped as I was walking home from the Roxy. By the cements of New Brunswick townies, a bunch of fucking randals. 2 a.m. and I was on Joyce Kilmer Ave for no good reason, alone and on foot. Why? Because I thought I was hard, thought I would have no problems walking through the thicket of young dudes I saw on the corner, which was a big mistake. I remember the smile on this one guy's face the rest of my fucking life, only second to his high school ring, which plowed a nice furrow into my cheek. Wish I could say I went down swinging, but these cats just laid me the fuck out. If it hadn't been for some Samaritan driving by, the motherfuckers would probably have killed me.
Can you get the lights back there?
So we wanted to choose a hard-hitting quote, something I felt I could connect with as a dancer. We also took in consideration some of Oscar's younger life quotes, but this one struck a chord with me choreographically, artistically. And then it's a really powerful moment for this character in the book.
Okay, so that's Gabe talking a little bit about why we chose that scene. And that was actually Junot Diaz reading those words. And so sometimes art, I think, has the ability to express the inexpressible. And I think Junot Diaz does it in this novel, and I think Gabe helps to do it in this particular scene. So that was 2 years ago that I spoke about this book. Last year I spoke about this scene, and I shared the platform or the podium with Christy Palela, who is not here, but we both talked about how comics frame our universe, and I'm going to say a little bit more about that later, but that was last year's talk. So again, in an attempt to make this come alive for you, I have found, and this is on page 186, where there's some scenes that are going to be enacted here by a pretty famous actor, Elvis Navasco, who is going to act, first of all, the scenes where he's trying to get, where Junior is trying to get Oscar to exercise, and secondly, where Oscar is named Wow, from Wild to Wow, and the third part where Oscar is about to commit suicide. So if someone could, again, get the lights, I'd appreciate it.
So what happens at the beginning of October? What always happens to Playboy. No surprise given how balls out I was living. Wasn't just any bop either. My girl Sorian found out I was messing with one of her hermanas. Second time I've been caught in 2 years, a record even for me. Sorian went absolutely nuts. Attacked me on the E-bus, the boys laughing and running, and me pretending like I hadn't done anything. Suddenly, I was in the dorm a lot, taking a stab at a story or two, watching some movies with Oscar. Out of nowhere, and not in the least influenced by my own shitty state, I decided I am going to fix Oscar's life. One night, while he's moaning on about his sorry existence, I say, "Do you really want to change it?"
Of course I do. But nothing I've tried has been ameliorative.
I'll change your life.
Really?
Yeah, really. But you have to listen to me, though.
I swear an oath of obedience, my lord. When do we start?
The next day, 6 a.m., I kicked Oscar's bed. Yo, come on, let's go, get up.
What is it?
Nothing much. Just the first day of your life. I really must have been in a dangle over Sorian, which is why I threw myself something serious into Project Oscar. I have Fat Boy like Master Killer and Shaolin Temple. I'm on his ass 24/7. I get him to start watching his diet and stop talking crazy negative.
I am ill-fated. I am going to perish a virgin. I am lacking in pulchritude.
Positive thoughts, I'd say. Positive thoughts, motherfucker. I even bring him out with me and the boys. Yo, Junior, what's up, Papa? What's next? We start inviting out the homeless? But my biggest coup of all, I get dude to exercise with me, to fucking run. Huh? It goes to show you, O really did look up to me. I can't lie. First couple of times, I almost laughed, watching him huffing down George Street, keeping his head down so he won't have to see all the reactions. Hey, fat ass! And the best one I hear, look, Mom, that guy's taking his planet out for a run. Dude is not into it at all. He starts getting up at 5, so he's already at his computer when I get up. Can claim that he's in the middle of this amazingly important chapter. Write it later, bitch! I know shit isn't easy for him. I see how it is. You think people hate a fat person? Try a fat person who's trying to get thin. Okay. People suck. But what were his options? O had to do something. He did too. He quit.
I will run again. No more.
He intones from under his pillow. I mean, here I am, going the fuck out of my way to help this fucking idiot out, and he's pressing it back in my face. I took this shit real personal. You either run or that's it.
I don't want to do it anymore.
Stubborn like his sister. I put my hands on him. Come on, Oscar, get up.
You leave me alone. Leave me alone.
Actually shoves me. Both of us astounded. Him trembling, scared, sick. Me with my fists out, ready to kill. Come on, fat boy. Come on. You want to do this? For a second, I almost let it go. Just a mistake. A mistake. But then I remembered myself. So I pushed him with both hands. Ah! He flies into the wall hard. Dumb, dumb, dumb. Two days later, Lola calls from Spain. What the fuck is your problem, Junior? And that was that. The end. Halloween, he made the big mistake of dressing up as Doctor Who. Was real proud of his outfit, too. When I saw him on Eastern with 2 other writing section clowns, I couldn't believe how much he looked like that fat homo, Oscar Wilde, and I told him so. You look just like Oscar Wilde. And Melvin said, Oscar Wilde. Espérate. ¿Y quién es Oscar Wilde? And that was it. We all started calling him that. Hey, wow, what are you doing? Wow. You want to get your feet off my chair? After a couple of weeks, dude started answering to it. Fool never got mad when we gave him shit. Made a brother feel bad. You know we were just kidding, right, Wow?
I know.
So, we cool?
we're cool.
That's all it should have been. Just some fat kid I roomed with my junior year. People ask me, did you see the signs? Did you? What the fuck does it really matters? On our last night as roommates, Oscar housed 2 bottles of Orange Cisco I bought him. You know what Orange Cisco is? Liquid crack. So you know Mr. Lightweight is fucked up.
To my virginity.
Yo, cool it, bro. Oh, come on, Oscar, people don't want to hear about all that.
You're right. They just want to stare at me.
Come on, bro. Tranquilízate.
I'm copacetic.
No, dude, come on, dude. You ain't pathetic, man.
I said copacetic. Everybody misapprehends me.
I guess I should have stayed with him. Should have sat my ass in that chair and told them the shit was going to be cool. But it was our last night, man, and I was fucking tired of him. You know, I just wanted to fuck silly this Indian girl I had on Douglas, smoke a joint, and then go to bed.
Fare thee well.
He said as I left.
Fare thee well.
Saved my life. And so this is Paulo Coelho. Let's do it for a second. There are many lessons in The Alchemist, but they basically come down to knowing you can achieve your dreams. And that Santiago, the shepherd boy in The Alchemist, is introduced to the king, Melchizedek, who's a spiritual, magical kind of character. And the king tells Santiago about the world's greatest lie. And the world's greatest lie is this, that at a certain point in our lives, when we lose control of what's happening to us, what this does is open our eyes to know that if we work hard enough and have the courage and go for our dreams, we desire something with all our hearts and soul, as Oscar does, then the world conspires with him, with us, to make it happen. So another big fan of The Alchemist is Will Smith. And there's a really short clip here of Will Smith talking about this lesson, because I think this is a real key to Oscar's transformation. And so let's take a listen to this.
I don't want to be an icon. I want to be an idea. You know, I want to represent an idea. I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent magic, right? That you're in the universe and 2 plus 2 equals 4. Mm-hmm. 2 plus 2 only equals 4 if you accept that 2 plus 2 equals 4. 2 plus 2 is going to be what I want it to be. Mm-hmm. You know, and there's a redemptive power that making a choice has, you know, rather than feeling like you're at effect to all the things that are happening. Make a choice, right? You just decide what it's going to be, who you're going to be, how you're going to do it. Just decide. And then from that point, the universe is going to get out your way. It's like it's war. It wants to move and go around stuff, you know. So for me, I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent the idea that you really can make what you want. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho. And I just believe that. I believe that I can create whatever I want to create. If I can put my head on it right, study it, learn the patterns, and you know, it's hard to put into words. It's real metaphysical, esoteric nonsense. But I feel very strongly that we are who we choose to be.
First of all, it's not mumbo jumbo. It makes sense number one. Number two, I think certainly the alchemist just went up.
Well, Sam just went up on Amazon. Oh no, it's great. No, it's a quick read too. Yeah.
If you can spell alchemist.
That's a good spelling word, alchemist. Alchemist, because it's great. I consider myself an alchemist. An alchemist is basically a mystical chemist, right? And one of the great feats that alchemists used to do is they would take lead, just take a chunk of lead and make it turn lead into gold, right? So the symbolism. Oh no! That's what I need to do. Exactly. You know, but I'm so connected to symbolically being able to turn lead into gold.
So, so here, everybody. I wanted to just talk briefly about this hero's journey. So, how many of you have read the Hero of the Thousand Faces, Joseph Campbell? Some of you have. This is a little clip that explains it and applies it to all characters. This hero's journey is something that not only applies to each one of us, you, me, we're all on a journey in our lives. And the only way we can get to the next level of being who we can be in this world is by trying to get to where we want to go but are afraid to go. So if you're afraid to be a writer, you want to be a writer but you think, oh, I can't do that, and then you try to be a writer, even if you fail, you'll get to the next level of who you can be. If you really want to be part of a certain something and you don't think you can but you go for it, then you'll get to the next level of who you can be. And this is a little bit about what that journey is.
What do Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo all have in common with the heroes of ancient myths? What if I told you they are all variants of the same hero? Do you believe that? Joseph Campbell did. He studied myths from all over the world and published a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, retelling dozens of stories and explaining how each represents the monomyth, or hero's journey. So, what is the hero's journey? Think of it as a cycle. The journey begins and ends in the hero's ordinary world, but the quest passes through an unfamiliar, special world. Along the way, there are some key events. Think about your favorite book or movie. Does it follow this pattern? Status quo. That's where we start. 1 o'clock. Call to adventure. The hero receives a mysterious message, an invitation, a challenge. 2 o'clock. Assistance. The hero needs some help, probably from someone older, wiser. 3 o'clock. Departure. The hero crosses the threshold from his normal, safe home and enters the special world and adventure. We're not in Kansas anymore. 4 o'clock. Trials. Being a hero is hard work. Our hero solves a riddle, slays a monster, escapes from a trap. 5 o'clock. Approach. It's time to face the biggest ordeal, the hero's worst fear. 6 o'clock. Crisis. This is the hero's darkest hour. He faces death, and possibly even dies, only to be reborn. 7 o'clock. Treasure. As a result, the hero claims some treasure, special recognition, power. 8 o'clock. Result. This can vary between stories. Do the monsters bow down before the hero, or do they chase him as he flees from a special world? 9 o'clock. Return. After all that adventure, the hero returns to his ordinary world. 10 o'clock, new life. This quest has changed the hero. He has outgrown his old life. 11 o'clock, resolution. All the tangled plot lines get straightened out. 12 o'clock, status quo, but upgraded to a new level. Nothing is quite the same once you're a hero. Many popular books and movies follow this ancient formula pretty closely, but let's see how well The Hunger Games fits the hero's journey template. When does Katniss Everdeen hear a call to adventure that gets the story moving? When her sister's name is called from the library? How about assistance? Is anyone going to help her on her adventure? Hey Mitch. What about departure? Does she leave her ordinary world? She gets on a train to the capital. Okay, so you get the idea. What do you have in common with Harry Potter, Katniss Everdeen, and Frodo? Well, you're human, just like them. The hero's journey myth exists in all human cultures and keeps getting updated because we humans reflect on our world through symbolic stories of our own lives. You leave your comfort zone, have an experience that transforms you, and then you recover and do it again. You don't literally slay dragons or fight Voldemort, but you face problems just as scary. Joseph Campbell said, "In the cave you fear to enter lies the treasure you seek." What is the symbolic cave you fear to enter? Auditions for the school play? Baseball tryouts? Love? Watch for this formula in books, movies, and TV shows we come across. You will certainly see it again, but also be sensitive to it in your own life. Listen for your call to adventure. Accept the challenge. Conquer your fear and claim the treasure you seek. And then do it all over again.
I think it's one of the most inspiring ways to look at not only our lives, but at this novel. So here we are at La Inca, where we were going before. And if you turn to page 143, La Inca and the Power of Prayer, she's an amazing character, diminutive, who is so powerful. So this is when Belly gets scooped up by the police. La Inca the Divine, page 143. After the girl had bolted from the house, and after she was informed by the neighbors that the secret police had scooped her up, La Inca knew in her ironclad heart that the girl was cartouche, that the doom of the Cabrals had managed to infiltrate her circle at last. Standing at the edge of the neighborhood, rigid as a post, staring hopelessly into the night, she felt herself borne upon a cold tide of despair, as bottomless as her knees. And then, etc. It goes down to the next paragraph. She's gathering her faith, shrugging. And then the next paragraph, 144, shrugging off her weariness, she did what many women of her background would have done. Posted herself beside her portrait of La Virgin de Altagracia and prayed. We postmodern Platonists tend to dismiss the Catholic devotion of our viejas as atavistic, or from the ancestors, an embarrassing throwback to the old days, but it's exactly at these moments, and this is the title of my talk today, it's exactly at these moments when all hope has vanished, when the end draws near, that prayer has dominion. Let me tell you, true believers, in the annals of Dominican piety, there's never been prayer like this. The rosary is cabling through Lenka's fingers like the line flying through a doomed fisherman's hands. And before you could say, holy, 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 she was joined by a flock of women, young and old, fierce and Mansa, serious and allegre, even those who had previously bagged on the girl and called her whore, arriving without invitation and taking up the prayer without as much as a whisper. Dorca was there, and the wife of the dentist, and many, many others, etc. And so, through the power of prayer, La Inca really saves Bella's life. And I think these, so her power of prayer, here's guardian angel. So Clive's the evangelical taxi driver who has the goodness and courage, the compassion to find Oscar. And this is one of my favorite scenes where Oscar's been beat almost to death, and Clive's, and I know I'm just about out of time here, and Clive's is going to find him, but he can't. It's dark, and Clive's is about to give up, singing. And he knows what a good voice is because he sings in his church choir, and he feels a wind like a blast of an angel might lay down on takeoff, and leaves behind the smell of burned cinnamon. So here we have Clive, and there's angels, there's burned cinnamon, and we've gone from Inca's realm of powerful prayers into angels singing and into magic realism. And so where I would like to go is what is this about magic realism and this magical mongoose, which is part of the boom, the tradition that I'd like to talk about. And the mongoose says to Lola, back to Lola, when she was in the cane fields, you have to rise now or you'll never have a son or a daughter. What son she was, what daughter? So she didn't even know. Here's this magical mongoose telling her about her future. And so I wanted to get into magical realism a little bit. And then the mongoose pulls on Lola's arm. Here's Gabriel Garcia Marquez, who wrote 100 Years of Solitude. And so magic realism is a genre where magical or unreal elements play a natural part in an otherwise realistic environment. And it's a pretty amazing phenomenon. It works so seamlessly in this novel. And I would go on to quote some other examples of magic realism and contrast it with faceless evil. And this is just a photo I picked up from Pan's Labyrinth. Maybe some of you recognize it, but I thought it was a good, that's kind of how I imagine faceless people to be, and sort of the contrast. And so anyway, I was giving some of the historical context of how that plays out, but I think I'll stop now and take some questions. And so the first question is, are you asserting that Oscar goes on a hero's journey? And yeah, and basically his call to action is love. He's called by love. He won't give up on love. And even though it's going to mean certain death, he has that call. So more, are these in any sort of order? Okay. More questions about the hero's journey. Okay, by dying in the name of love, did Oscar achieve the next level of being a human? Is this what makes Oscar a hero? What do you guys think about that? I mean, doesn't he, to me, he comes across as a kind of a comic book hero. Really, he knows he's going to die, and in going into the face of death, he goes for love, and he achieves love. I think it's really touching, personally. So, I think he's a hero. How many of you feel he's a hero? Just curious. So, more questions about Oscar being a hero. Let's see. A lot of questions about a hero. What superhero do I connect with? In my talk last year, I talked about as a kid, I loved comic books, and I had boxes of comic books, and I framed my own comic books. And I guess it probably, is different for many of you, but for me, Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, I loved all those, I loved them in Flash, later Spider-Man. How has the book, The Brief Runner's Life of Oscar, changed the way you look at life? That's a really good question. I think that in learning more about Junot Diaz, and I was talking with Danielle about this yesterday, it's amazing the way that Junot Diaz has written this book into, and I'll show you this too, has written this into the canon. And in terms of this book was actually, and I wanted to show you this, has been declared by a group of experts the best novel of the 21st century. And look at number 12. The 12th best novel is Middlesex. So congratulations to you guys for reading two of the best. And so, but to answer this question, what Junot Diaz was, and I think this article gets to it. Here, he talks about how he was one of the only students of color in in his program at Cornell. And Diaz dealt with white peers who questioned his use of Spanish and generally didn't try at all to interrogate their own views on race. So this experience led Julio Diaz to say, hey, he had to fight against this sort of white-only view of the canon of literature, with all the great literature we consider to be part of the canon, the James Joyces, and the Tolstoys, and the Virginia Woolf. The sound just went off. But anyway, so it's changed the way I look at life, because similar to Their Eyes Were Watching God, how many of you read Their Eyes Were Watching God? Okay, so you know then that in this case, you're hearing the Southern Black dialect come alive in great literature. And in this book, you're hearing Spanglish, you're hearing Spanish come alive in great literature. And so in some ways, that's what's changed me a lot. I love the way he does that. Let's see. What kind of comparisons does Univ make in his book concerning The Alchemist? Well, I just think that there's a lot of symbolism in the book, and I think that, for instance, Bond drives a Pathfinder. That's a key, and that's her part. It happens to be a Pathfinder, but she's also a Pathfinder for him, right? And so, just as Anna drives a Cressida, and a Cressida is an unfaithful lover, and so that's different. So I think looking closely at books. But in terms of this question, the kind of comparisons, The Alchemist, when Yvonne says The Alchemist and Paulo Coelho has changed her life, by doing that, I think in some ways it transfers to Oscar and it helps change his life. And so I think there's some interesting symbolism there. So I think we're about out of